Hello, everybody. My name is Happy, and I'd like to welcome you all to my History Reaction channel. Today is Christmas, so Merry Christmas, one and all. And for today, I thought we'd do something a little bit different. And I'm going to preface this with a little bit of a confession. I've been told for a couple of years now I really need to check out Sabaton. Well, I've heard that for years, never gotten around to doing it. Well, we're going to be changing that today. So today we're going to be doing the Christmas Truce by Sabaton. As always, I will include a link to the original video. I very much encourage people to head over to Sabaton's channel and show them some appreciation and some love for the work they put into this. Even though I've never seen or heard anything from Sabaton before, I've heard enough about them to know that they go above and beyond on their work, especially when it comes to historical content. So if you guys like what you see here, please let me know, and let me know if there's other videos that I absolutely have to see from them. I'll be glad to do it. I love music. I'm not much of a heavy metal fan, which is probably one of the main reasons that I just never seem to get around to Sabaton. Doesn't mean I necessarily hate all of it, but it's just not something that I'm normally drawn to. But we'll see what I think about this. As always, I'll try to add a little extra historical content, as well as possibly some comments on the music. I am not by any means a musical professional, but I have played music for pretty much my entire life. A wide variety of instruments, primarily string instruments, keyboard. I'm a dabbler on every last one of them, but basic music theory, music history, and especially things like folk music I know quite a bit about. So let's just go ahead and get into this and just see what we got here. I have no idea what to really expect other than everybody tells me I should see it. Here we go. Well, assuming I do this correctly, still having trouble with my new setup. All right. That's pretty accurate so far. Oh!
Come on, man. Wake up. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Thomas! Come on!
Okay, so I saw multiple soldiers there from different sides. Looks like we got some British and some French and German, obviously, which makes sense. 1914, there were a lot of Christmas truces. It wasn't just one event, but 1914, the Christmas truces of that year are the best known. Once they happen, top brass is quite concerned about them and takes steps to try to make sure it doesn't happen again. And we'll get into that more. But 1914 is the big one, the one that we always typically talk about. I just want to make it clear that it wasn't one big ceasefire across all the battlefronts. It was several isolated ceasefires, primarily in Flanders is where they're best known. Typically, it was more the British and the Germans. The French were involved, but they were a lot more reluctant to get involved. Well, the French and the Belgians, because their land was being invaded, a little more hesitant to go out and shake the hand of the enemy, so to speak, to socialize and be friendly with them. because they were fighting for their homes. So they kind of had a different attitude about it. The way the different sides portray the Christmas truces is different. If you look at the British side and the Allied side, you'll see it a lot more mythologized and portrayed as this amazing, wondrous event. Whereas the Germans, they remember it, they talk about it, but they don't mythologize it and play it up to the same degree the British do. Quite possibly because the Germans lost, so they're a little more pragmatic about it. The Christmas truces weren't just about Christmas. They were also, they took advantage of those truces to take care of the dead. So there was a dark side to it as well. So I just wanted to get a lot of that out of the way before we get into the actual music, so I can get away with it, stopping the music a little less. So here we go. Yeah, so you can see like the red pants, that would be a French soldier. The blue would be the British. Gray would be the Germans. Very Christmassy. Kind of an inverted Carol of the Bells. Very similar, but I think they're doing the triads in almost a reverse order, I think. Yeah, they're going down instead of up.
Silence.
All right.
I remember the silence on a cold winter day. After many months on the battlefield, and we were used to the violence. Then all the candles went silent, and the snow fell. Voices sang to me from no man's land. We are all, we are all, we are all, we are all friends. And today we're all brothers, tonight we're all friends. Our moment of peace in a war that never ends. Today we're all brothers, we drink and unite. Now Christmas has arrived and the snow turns the ground white. Hear carols from the trenches, we sing a holy night. Our guns lay to rest on snowflakes. Our Christmas in the trenches, our Christmas on the front, far from home.
Okay. Wow. Okay, wow. I see why everybody likes Sabaton. So they start out talking about the silence. And yeah, that tracked, because trench warfare, when it was going on hot and heavy. The artillery fire, if you read some of these firsthand accounts from the soldiers that were in the trenches, they'll talk about how the artillery fire was almost nonstop. It's not like you kind of see in the movies where you just get a boom here and a boom over there. No, it was rapid fire, almost just nonstop, boom, 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 all over. What they showed in the beginning, where you heard all that noise, and I even said that this is accurate, because it was. Even if the men in the trenches weren't actively shooting at each other, that artillery was going quite often, and they were barrages. When they did fall silent, you'd still have shooting going on from guns, everything else that's going on around. Silence would have been very rare. So when he gets into that silence, that would it almost be a shock to you. once you become kind of uh, entitized to nonstop noise, silence would be almost disturbing. Yeah, really well done. I really like how they're doing this. And when they got that driving beat, it almost felt like like a chanty almost. It had that same kind of chanty rhythm to it. But in addition to that Carol the Bells like opening, there were a couple of other verses in there where the melody really reminded me of other Christmas songs. I almost heard, just for a moment, I thought they were transitioning into something along the lines of Peace on Earth. If you're familiar with that, it's a popular Christmas song in Britain. I'm wondering if that was intentional or if that was just something that I heard. We'll keep playing it. I kind of wonder if they might sneak motifs from other Christmas songs in here, transposed or changed like they did with Carol the Bells, but still recognizable. Let's see.
Madness, how I remember the sadness. We were hiding our tears in a foreign land where we faced our fears. We were soldiers, carried the war on our shoulders.
That is really, really ringing a bell. There's another song that follows that almost exactly. That little part there, the soldier's part. You also, I know there's another song out there that is so close to that. Almost the exact same melody pattern. Almost the same lyrics. But just for that one little section. But, sorry. There was something that they were showing and talking about earlier that I wanted to comment on.
We were hiding our tears in a foreign land where we faced our fears. We were soldiers.
Yeah, this part I know I've heard that before, but what I want to comment on is that first soldier that steps out there. How incredibly brave did he have to be to do that? Just boggles my mind that anybody would have the courage to do that. I know in some versions of the story, and again, this happened in multiple isolated areas, so it may have played out a little differently in different areas. But some stories talk about hearing singing in the other camp, both sides joining in the song, and then that leads them to meet. But even the idea of just somebody raising their hand and going out there, I'm sure that probably happened in other areas. Kudos to whoever that was that had the guts to do that. That was what I wanted to. That soldier's line is just gonna drive me nuts. Yeah.
We sing a holy night. Our guns lay to rest on the snow.
you'll hear account of them playing football. That would be everybody but America football, in other words, soccer for us, during the Christmas truce. More often than not, in a lot of popular culture, you'll see that portrayed or painted or described as a full-on German versus British and French troops in a full-on match. In most cases that we have of actual descriptions of it, it's more of just guys messing around, kicking balls back and forth to each other. Very informal. It wasn't like it was a full-on game match. But still, just the idea of them out there kicking balls back and forth like they were just kids on a playground. It said something about the way they were feeling and what was going on here. And they're portraying it great. I have to say, I don't think they actually brought a piano out of the trenches. However, there are accounts from earlier than this, quite a bit earlier than this, in the Great Northern Crusades, where the Teutonic Knight and the forces that were with them actually did bring organs out to play in with the battles. So, maybe? You know, earlier I mentioned that these truces were primarily the British and the Germans interacting. The French and the Belgians were a lot more reluctant to do so, in part, like I said, because they're defending their homeland. So they're probably not as likely to embrace the enemy, as it were. Whereas the British are here to help, but they don't have the same stake in it, if that makes sense. There's another aspect to that too, and it's a language barrier. The English and the Germans had an easier time communicating with each other than the French and the British often did, and that also played into that. A lot of the Germans, for example, prior to the war, had been working in England, English factories and places like that. So they were at least passive. A lot of them were passively familiar with English, and the two languages are related. So they were able to communicate better often than the British were able to communicate with their French allies. So that may have played into that too. Something else I wanted to add, but Oh, the cross. If I'm not mistaken, there actually is a cross like that that is at the site of one of the Christmas truces, and it is a memorial to the Christmas tree. So I wonder if that's what this is supposed to represent. We'll see. But I do know that there is actually a large cross that was planted as a memorial to the. Yep, it is that cross. Lest we forget. That's nice. I like this music better almost. That melody right there is still really sounding an alarm on me. And that right there. I'm gonna let it keep going. I like this. Sabaton is Swedish, aren't they? I'm not sure on that. Like I said, I've never seen them before. I don't know much about them, other than they're beloved by the history community. All right. All right. So, first thing I got to say is I definitely need to check out more of their videos. If any of the others are like this, I need to check them out. So please toss down one or two suggestions if you are familiar with Sabaton and you have a personal favorite, because I'd really like to hear some more. Not necessarily right away, but something to work into future weeks as we go along. Second, I'll be right back. I need to figure out what that song is that is resonating with me when I hear those soldier lines. I'm going to see if I can find some hint that'll make me remember. Oh, filmed in the Czech Republic. Okay, that's interesting. Cool. All right, be right back. And that didn't take long at all. I should have remembered. It was a Bobby Vinton song. I'm just a soldier, a coming home soldier. Those particular lines match what they're singing here, melody-wise, almost exactly. That's what was ringing those bells for me and driving me crazy. I grew up, I was born in the 60s. My parents were huge 1950s and 60s country, rock, rockabilly, music of that era. So I grew up surrounded by those sounds, and that's what was triggering those alarm bells in my mind. Bobby Vinton, Coming Home Soldier. All right. Now I can rest easily and not be driven crazy by it. All right. Well, the folks who suggested I check out Sabaton, thank you very much. Sorry it took me so long. And again, please recommend some more. And I will see you all later. Oh, one last thing. Merry Christmas again. I hope everyone has a happy holiday. I don't care where you are. I don't care what faith you are. Have a happy holiday. Have a wonderful day. See y'all later. Bye-bye.